Medina, SoulogyOneStudios, listening to an instrumental by the legends UGK, Bun B, and Pimp C from the south side of Houston, Port Arthur, Texas. Yeah, I'm from Houston, Texas, and I know I'm biased, but the best music in the world comes out of Houston, Texas. Yeah. Got a little soul speak. Talking about this trip that we're all sharing. This ascension, this unveiling, apocalypse. All the horrors and all the dreams come true, wrapped up into one. This whole trip's about us getting back to us. Looking our own divinity in the eye. Here we go. Just remember, the road will always be golden. Even when your faith and the highest thing you hold and something outside yourself is shattered to pieces. Yeah. The road will still be golden even if your prophet's words prove altered with lies applied to serve the selfishness of our minds. Oh yeah. Truth is stranger than fiction. The road will still be golden if ETs descend from the skies and we discover that we were born of the light through their seeds, sharing their lineage and their lives. The road will still be golden even when the nukes begin to fly and electricity becomes a dying dream and a renewed quest for living. The road will still be golden when science and the stars collide with Jesus and the Anunnaki as Nibiru meets the third eye. Oh yeah. The road will always be golden. And I am only certain of one thing. My own divinity, and that my place is here and now, and I know I'm golden, and I know I'm soul. Oh yeah. That was pretty cool. Well, woo! What's going on, everybody? Let's see, we got 4 people in the Zoom room. Let's see if we got anybody new in here who'd like to come up. We got Irene, Laura, and Leo Hilda, Leo, and maybe it's Leo and Hilda. So yeah, this is the open mic roundtable discussion. We'd like to see some new names and faces so we can all get to know each other. That's what we're here to do. We're all here to step out now and expand our throat chakras. We've had some problems, not too bad over the last 5 or 6 shows, people getting knocked off repeatedly. So I'm going to pin the comment for the Zoom room link. And that would also serve for anyone that wants to come on screen. We can pull up 2, 3, 4, 5 people on the screen and get to know each other. You know, our highest channels, transmissions, activations, downloads come from having conversations with each other. This is where our real opportunity is. So anyone that would like to come up on the screen, so I don't have to sit here and talk to myself the whole time. Ashley Lee, would you like to come on? Anyone else in the Zoom room? send me a message here in the Zoom room and tell me that you want to come on. And we'll try to get whoever we can worked on here, worked into the flow. So anybody that would like to come on, that'd be really cool. Give us some company, give us some time, share some space with us so we get to know you a little better. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. It's just a conversation. And if nobody comes on, then we're gonna have to get Morgan over here in just a minute. Oh, here we go. All right, what do we got? We got a couple messages here. I know you, Sarah, but yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And what's been happening is more and more people want to come on, and we'll just try to work them in. So we might have to work some people off as other people come in. We're listening. You're not talking to yourself. So we're going to bring on Sarah. We haven't talked to her in a while. We're going to be heading up to her part of the country here pretty soon. So that'll be cool. That fits. And anybody else that wants to come on, just come into the Zoom room, send me a message. We'll work you in as we could. So Sarah, I'm going to bring you up now. Let's see. Hadn't seen you in a long time. It's been about a year. Let's see. Who else? There's somebody else there. Let's see. Ashley Lee, if you want to come on. Hang on, Sarah. Let me unmute you. Okay, this is Sarah. What's happening?
Hey, it's so nice to see you, Todd. It's been a long time.
I know it has. I know it has. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I see you've been busy, and what I love about you is that whole thing. You don't mind showing whatever's going on with you. I've seen you do everything I've done, freak out, with your channel.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is such a time of in between worlds right now. It's surreal.
Wow.
Going through reality, because the matrix, the whole parasitic AI is kind of dying, and the organic is not fully formed yet. So we're in this incredible in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true, but I think we're the ones doing it, right? I mean, what I mean by that is it's not like, it's the more we engage that organic, the more it expands. And
the more, yeah. And we also have to be willing to really detach from all the patterns that impede the organic from anchoring. So there's a lot of like just letting go, and kind of like, when your ship is like tied to the dock, and then it's like unmoored, like the ropes are loosened and your ship is just floating.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, you have a sense of where you're going and you have a sense of what you want, but there's this sense of like, oh my gosh, everything I've known is gone. Yeah. And what's next to come is not here yet.
Right.
So, like, holy cow, like how, how do I do this thing? Right. It's like,
and that's what I was saying. That's what I love about you, because and I think this is actually more valuable than not to take anything away from pulling down Kuan Yin or pulling down this channeling or that channeling, but I've seen you freak out. I've done videos where I freaked out, and someone just said, what was it right here? They said, "Oh, glad it's not just me. I feel completely out of my body today." So this common denominator of the experience that we're all having, the human, the part of us that we try to get away from all these years, is actually where the strength is. So our greatest weakness is our greatest strength, something to that.
Yeah, to walk as the human, even though, like, because there's all this galactic knowledge, and I know that I'm an ambassador from Divine Mother, from Andromeda, and there's all those parts of me. But when the rubber meets the road, we've really got at the human level is where the alchemy of this birth, like the crucible of the light and the dark, is meeting right here in this super vulnerable, clueless human.
Exactly. Well, I don't know if it's clueless or just that I don't know. It's
in the void.
Well, yeah, it is. It is in the void, and it's interesting because there's been a lot of, over the last few months, you see projection. I've done it. Everyone's done it, one way or the other, and that's okay. I did a spirit walk this morning on protection from projection, which was basically go quiet, say nothing, because if we, can honor these projections and see them for what they are, and not get wrapped up in them and trying to engage them, because you can't engage verbally a projection. You're just projecting on the projection, basically.
Right, totally. I'm gonna look for my friend Peta. God, I'd love it if she could get on with us.
I'm gonna bring up another sister here. She said she doesn't know what she's gonna say, but you know what?
Doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right. So this is okay, let's see here. We got some more coming in too. So okay, let me unmute you. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Daniela.
Yes.
Ragida. Where are you from? Where are you at?
I'm currently in Mexico, in Tulum.
Mexico.
Yeah.
¿Cómo está? Let me practice my Spanish.
No, you're good.
My last name's ends in a vowel. Okay, we got another one coming in too. Just a second.
This is fun. Hi, Daniela.
Yeah.
I'm
Hi.
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, nice to meet
Oh
you.
gosh.
¿Cómo está usted?
Bien.
Mi
Yo
hermana.
hablo español también.
Oh shit.
Puedo practicar.
You're like, what did I get myself
I'm
into?
done now. I'm done. So we're gonna keep bringing people on. We got another sister that's gonna come on, and well, let's see who we got here. Who's coming on? I thought I saw. Oh, here we go. Irene. I think that's what she's saying. Hi, all. Like to share. Say hello. Okay, so we'll get her on here in just a second. And Irene, if that's not your intention by the comment, let me know because I'm going to pull you up here in a couple of minutes. Sarah's been on. Sarah's pretty well known in the community, in the circles I've been running around in.
Oh, we're all family here.
That's right. She's very down to earth. She's got some great friends that live with her there. She's also documented her journey, which has been really cool. But Daniela, we don't know much about you. You said you didn't know what you'd say.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like I'll just go for something. Just what I've been experiencing lately. Yeah, I've been noticing a lot of shits with like this with nature, a lot of and it's really, I'm so nervous because I don't usually speak up in front of people, but I've noticed and a lot of my work is my own work is a lot of solo and solitude and just staying in the background kind of thing. But I've noticed a lot of shifts within the I guess my own perspective, my own experience, but nature and the returning to nature. It's just a huge message right now, like return to natura, which I'm in the works with a project of mine, trusting to bring it forth at some point. But the disconnect of within our own temples, within our own bodies, right now, it's a huge thing. It's a huge metaphor or just reflection of how disconnected us humanity, how disconnected humans are from the natural rhythm. So that's what I've been tuning in and receiving, just like messages as I write them. That's just what I've been receiving lately. And yeah, that's what I'm currently working with myself. So, and trusting to bring more insights for the whole.
Wow.
For the whole. Sorry.
So
Yeah.
let me just send a note to Irene. Irene, you put a message. If you want to come on, Irene, can you please send me a confirmation? Because I'm not sure that's what I was getting from your message. And I'll pull you up. And anybody else who wants to come on, there's 12 people in the Zoom room. Anybody wants to come on, send me a message in Zoom. Okay, here's Irene. So we're going to bring Irene up, and then we'll start a little roundtable topical discussion with these different perspectives. All right. So let me pull up Irene, and we'll let her introduce herself, and then we'll move into some discussions, and we can possibly bring up one or two more. Let's see. Hang on one second. Let me Let me get, oh, this is Irene. Okay, hang on, let me unmute you. All right. Okay, so we got, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get to know Irene for a second, and then we're gonna bring on a brother, and then that'll sustain us for the time being, and we'll go from there. We're gonna bring on Michael Harrell in about 2 minutes. Hello, Irene. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. Yes, I just felt drawn the last couple of days, listened to some of your talks, and I'm just here. I just show up. So yeah, so I've been born aware and awake, and it's been a slow process, fast and slow, and everything at the same time. And I feel like Daniela, I've been always working solo in the background. Here and there, I love to share with people, and then I really like to withdraw. And now I felt time to share a bit more about myself. And I thought, yeah, no, you showed up, and I just wanted to say hi and hello.
Well, that's good. Would you be interested in sticking around with us? And we're just going to talk about real-time
Yes.
at a human hybrid
Perfect.
school level. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's an honor to have you here, Sarah and Daniela. And let's bring up one more person. Let's bring up a brother to get some balance here finally, instead of this 80 to 20% we've had with the feminine to the masculine for the last few years.
Yeah.
So let's meet this brother here, Michael Harrell. Let's see if he comes in. Abracadabra. Let's see. Oh, here he is.
Where's Michael?
Let's see if he might be having a technical difficulty here. No, here he is. Okay. All right, unmute.
Yeah, it's me. Hey,
all right. So, and Liliana, just sit tight. We're going to keep it at these 5 people for now, but we've got plenty of time. We can move somebody out, bring somebody on. Just sit tight. Hello, Michael. What's happening? How are you? Who are you? When did you wake up? And you look like Merlin, which is a good thing.
Who am I? When did I wake up? Well, I've been woken up so many times. I feel like my life is like a grave robber. Every time I go to sleep, something else wakes me up. I have a healing modality that I teach on Facebook and on YouTube, and what tuned me in is when Sarah was talking about the traumas that we go through, awakening. And so I thought that sounds like what I do. I talk to people about how to heal their traumas.
Yeah. And you do that on YouTube.
I do it on YouTube, but I do it on Facebook. I have a group called Language Lessons the Heart on Facebook, and I have a like page just called Michael Harrell.
Right on. I've seen your name. I couldn't place it, and I see a lot of names, but I can't really always place everybody. Danielle, Danielle, I'm just letting you know I got you on mute. There's a little background, but when I get to you, I'll turn your mute back on, or your mic back on. Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say I came in with the technology, with the understanding. I came in as a crushed person, and then I had to dig myself out of that. And I also came in with some other things, but I basically have the understanding of how people get wounded and how they heal. Yeah. And like where they get wounded is kind of important, Yeah. So that for the people who actually need healing, I've got a good modality.
Excellent. And this is part of this platform is to bring people's skills and abilities to the table as we make this transition into this new earth, new way, 5D, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so we're definitely, I think that's a good place to start. So I'm going to go around the horn and just, so much of what I've seen be the activating mechanism in Soulogy for 8 years has been the personal experience that people have. There are many paths up the mountain, and there's many modalities, and there's many ways for us to get there, because it is all one at the end of the day. But I find that the personal experiences seem to bring out the highest level of activations, and soul code exchange. So I'm going to start with Sarah, then go to Daniela, then Irene, then to Michael. Sarah, can you tell us, I think this is a great subject Michael brings up.
Yeah.
Where the traumas, where the shadows, where the pain, the suffering, the misalignments came from, and how did you and how do you deal with them?
Wow, that's a huge subject. So I'll just go kind of stream of consciousness. So I believe that there are many different energies in the universe, and that God wanted to have many different experiences, and whether it's by accident or on purpose, we ended up falling out of a unity frequency several times, actually. But the most recent time was when the negative aliens invaded the planet, and really 5,500 years ago, around 5,500 years ago, kind of ripped the divine feminine out of the grid, damaged the mitochondria of every cell in every sentient life form, and invaded it with an AI matrix that split the masculine from the feminine and ripped away the mother. Yeah. So when the mother was ripped away, that created massive trauma. And then what was implanted in its place was the addictive matrix, was the mother's gone, let's seek it in the external world. And so we were made to be in a fallen matrix of externally seeking consumption instead of a self-sustained unity, divine mother, sacred marriage, self-perpetuating, superconductive light circulating through physicality, right? So the fulfillment was all internal in the beginning. Yeah. And this trauma, it was made external, which created this great fall of separation consciousness. And so for me, this is how the trauma sourced in my life experience.
So like when we were talking, when it was just me and you on,
yeah,
one of the things I love about you and other people, that they have the etheric balls to say, I've had it. I'm losing my mind. I need some help. It's getting to me. What do you do on a personal level when that stuff happens, or what have you done in the past that's worked for you?
Well, I create a lot of guided meditations for myself with my own voice and my own music, which really soothes my nervous system. Lots of times I'll just go lay right on the earth and just sob and just say, Mama, this is so big, because she's going through it with us. And so if we can just lay right on her, there's just this feeling of we're not alone. You know, she's going through it too. And then, you know, there's just a lot of times I just go to sleep, because in order to bring in some of these really radical codes coming from the sun, we have to be unconscious for the DNA to transmute itself. And so we have to go into deep delta. Sometimes we can go into delta while we're awake and the DNA can do the transmutation, but most of the time we're going to need to just go to sleep.
Yeah, I got you.
Sometimes I just, you know, I try to eat the best food. I drink tons of water.
Yeah.
I sing, you know, I'm a musician, I'm a singer. So I'm always singing.
We're going to have to get you to sing before the show's over.
Oh yeah, sure.
But no, that's great. That's great information. I want to keep it going, and you guys feel free to add whatever you want to add to it. If you're not totally in alignment with the subject, then you can go into something else. But I'm just winging it, because that's what we do here. It's spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what we're talking about, courageous.
Totally.
But so I'm going to go to Daniela. She mentioned nature, and I'm going to just ask kind of a two-pronged question to Daniela. Our sister, mi hermana de Mexico. So I want to ask you. So you really talk a lot about nature. So a two-pronged question. One, do you go into nature when you get hit with these energies, and do you experience the energies in a very impactful way? You know, physically, emotionally, mentally. Do you deal with that stuff, and how do you deal with it?
Right. Yeah. So I do feel whenever I feel a lot of emotion, like energy and motion, it's like just whether it's the sadness, whether it's it's more like sadness that I feel, and then in my body, like for example, just recently, I'd just like to share what just recently happened. I have no idea where this pain came from, but I think it lasted for about 3 days, where my whole face, more of my right side and joint, like I could feel pain in just the joints and like a lot of my jaw and just head area, where it would hurt to just even like go forward, like and I speak of natura. So I receive in that way. I receive a lot in that way, and also patterns that may be in a way coming back. Not coming back, just patterns that are coming through of certain thought patterns, and which gets me in a really low state, to say. And then I usually do return to nature. I do speak a lot of nature because I've been in the place where I'm not really, I guess, old in age, but from the experience that I've had just a few years back, I was really disconnected as a child from nature. Like I didn't, and even in my earlier teens, I did not even want to go to nature. I remember this. Like I would not like to go to the park. I would not like to be on the grass. And maybe that has to do with many factors of like chemicals or whatnot that I just felt uncomfortable. I don't know. But and being really, really sensitive, I've noticed now how my nervous system, how my body, how my energetic bodies respond when I go to nature. It's this, and so I do. Whenever that happens, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to a site, to wherever there's greenery, wherever. Right now, I've done it with cenotes, like one of the cenotes. There's plenty here. So, what I did actually just just yesterday, I was like feeling really tired, drained energetically. My eyes were heavy. I just went and I did a meditation in the morning and I just walked to this one cenote, and I don't, it's not intellectually, I never know what I'm doing. I slowly followed through with whatever the guidance is, of course. And so I just go and I feel like you do. And
I totally get that, because it's like you don't, it takes all the chatter out.
Right.
You just go to a place, because I'm not a big formal meditator. You just go to a place or you walk and everything just kind of falls in line, right?
Yeah.
It's not even about words or explanation or even really a particular modality. It's just about,
right.
I don't know how you explain that, but I think that's a really good explanation. I think the other thing too is that the fact that this just happened yesterday, there's been a whole lot of stuff going on. It seems like there's been a lot of stuff going on in the last 1, 2, 3 days where people are feeling sadness. They're crying, they're emotional. And let's ask Irene. Let's go to Irene now. We'll come back.
Yeah.
So Irene, and you're so like all of y'all, just humble and right there out in front. I applaud everybody for stepping up. I think it's a great idea for people to get out and put a camera in front of them and just start going with it, because this is the best activation, the best inspiration and motivation that we can have. So I just want to say thank you again, because I can tell with Irene particularly that it's a big step for you. But what do you do, Irene? I mean, you said you've been doing this work a long time in the background. You share and then you withdraw, share and withdraw, which is really not a pattern, not in a bad way, but it's a characteristic that I've noticed over the last few years and been told of, informed of, that there's many, particularly divine feminines around the world that Sarah can relate to this, and Daniela too. I know they can, and that is that, you know, they're back there in the background doing this work solo, without any notoriety, without any need for attention, but it is effective and it is coming to the surface now. So it's really important that we hear about this stuff. In your case, what do you do when you get hit with these energies on a personal level? How do you handle them?
Well, I've been like aware, born almost. So, and I knew always intuitively, like when I would, where I would feel safest, because I could not feel the safety around me. I knew I had to go in my heart, listen to my sound. So that's actually what I'm still doing.
Wow. And how do you, what does that look like? How does that, you just go silent and then you
So-
just,
So yeah, so like the silence is actually is not silent. It's like everything. So for me, it's where I recognize myself.
yeah,
So as a child, I knew the only way to survive basically was to go in my heart space.
yeah,
Nobody told me. I just,
Yeah.
it was my intuition. It's like, I think it's part of like what I understand now, maybe like it's like a source code. I only knew to know source.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's, otherwise everything would be completely confusing for me. So that was my, and yeah, so in sense, like I've never felt any or saw any types of guidance. It was more like a consciousness and presence.
yeah,
So for me, that worked best.
yeah,
Because there's no filters. There's like a direct communication. Although sometimes it's because we grow up in physicality, of course, and we are so used to see people and listen to words, and words are made up of thoughts, and the thoughts come from the human mind. So you have to, it's like becomes like a wild voice,
yeah.
like wild
I get what you're saying. I think,
to interact. Yeah.
yeah, I get what you're saying
And so
because,
yeah.
I'm sorry, there's a lag. What I was going to say is I get what you're saying. I think probably all of us can remember through trauma, be it as a child or as an adult, particularly as a child. I think before we had so much, we were exposed to so much that what you described, that silence that's not silence, that source code was a great comfort. And I agree with you too. The more we experience, the more faces, let's say, of the universe that come into play because of our, because of our brain, because of our mind, our capacity to imagine and things like that. But yeah, it's interesting because I like your method because it uncomplicates everything. And let me just ask you one last question before we go to Michael. I love your accent. Where are you from? Can you hear me?
I'm from the Netherlands.
Oh, Netherlands. No wonder. Okay.
Yes, I'm from the Netherlands.
No, yeah, you must be near Amsterdam. I notice everybody around Amsterdam is really calm and cool all the time.
Yes, I'm close to Amsterdam.
There you go. Yeah. So let's go to Michael.
But everything is close to Amsterdam in Holland.
Very cool. Thank you. So Michael, can you hear me? Let's see. Michael's muted. I don't know how you got muted. Let's see. Oh, there you go. There you go. Michael, I know you have a modality. You're the one that started this topic off. So let us know a little bit about your modality, a general overview, and also what you do on a personal level to sift through the shadows or deal with the energies if it's not in the overview of the modality that you want to talk about.
Well, stuff like that doesn't bother me too much anymore. I mean, I've sort of like went over that hump where energy and conflicts and those kind of things, they don't bother me anymore. So I have a really strong emotional body, and it's kind of takes care of me on that kind of a level. But I wanted to back up what Irene was saying. She talks about having to be gated, because one of the things that my quote of the day is this: our wounds come with life or death suppression of our pain. And our healing has to come with a life or death expression of our pains. What does that mean? That means that when we were little, we couldn't talk back, we couldn't process, we couldn't do anything. It was life or death for us, that we had to eat whatever was coming to us.
Yeah.
Because we had to eat and we had to go to school. I mean, with our parents were everything to us, so we had to suppress. And then as an adult, you have to express, and it has to be to the point of life or death. That's why the people who are in deep pain do more healing work than the people who are just kind of in the spiritual fluff and stuff. Yeah, I just wanted to back that up. You have to go to a certain level of life or death. I've got to change. Something has to happen.
Yeah.
That emergency, that urgency. And then you're in a position to actually change. The second one I wanted to say thank you to, and to back up, was Sarah. And she talks about in the beginning and the mother being ripped away. And I'm saying that is exactly right. To me, because I have 3 initiations. First one was into Kriya Yoga. And the second initiation was from the mother of everything herself. And the third one was from an ancestor of Hanuman. And they initiated me into different types of meditation. But because of this and doing my healing work, my memory goes all the way back to the first creation. We're in the second creation now. And in the first creation, it is how God emerged. And when God emerged, there was a lot of pressure. You think of it as electromagnetic, right? There's electric current coming through. And then the magnetic surrounds the electric current. And then when the magnetic increases in pressure, the current, we're talking about galactic scale current here, the current gets denser, and then it ignites. And when it ignites, that's what you call the emergence of God. So in that ignition of the consciousness of God, that is going to be the consciousness of everything, there is love and light and beauty and all this kind of stuff, but there's also a portion of it that is intense pain, intense suffering. It is the death of the mother. It is the casting away from the mother. But this all happens like that. Think of it as like an arc welder, just that arcs for a second, and then, while it's welding. So it's like that. So if you look into the universe, 96% of the universe is the mother. Is nothing, right? And only 4% is matter, stars, galaxies, and everything. Well, if you take that same ratio in human consciousness and all life consciousness, there's a 4% pain factor. So all of our life, we have this good stuff and the bad stuff, but there's only 4% of it that is really critical. But that 4% is so impressed on us that's where all our traumas and dramas and suffering and all this kind of stuff happens. And the reason why everybody's getting triggered now is because we are God's final healing. Therefore, if we're not doing our work ourselves, we haven't done, talking about doing serious primal work and doing the kind of work it takes to really clear stuff out. If you haven't done that, then Mother Nature, Mother herself will come and start triggering people. And that's what you're seeing now. You do the inside work first in advance, or the weather will happen, the economy will happen, the energy will happen, the spirits will happen. Somebody's going to come in there and trigger the living bejesus out of you.
Let go or be dragged.
That place where it's life or death. I got to do something.
Yeah. So let me ask you before we move on, and I appreciate that explanation. It's an excellent explanation. I find it fascinating, the different descriptions of what's going on that come through people, because they're all in some sense metaphoric, and they all do say the same thing, tell the same story that we've all been on. When's the last time you got triggered, Michael? What'd you do to get out of it? When's the last time somebody pissed you off? When's the last time you just said, oh, F it? When's the last time you went into your human, like, even if it was momentarily? And how do you
well, I just, it's like a, what do you call it? A palette, this goes from, I can't remember the last time I felt really strong. I think about 2010, my son and his girlfriend were having domestic violence. And I went into a primal release and just started crying and screaming and sobbing and saying, this is not right. This is not right. So it was out of compassion to them and feeling they were in that kind of fight and makeup kind of thing, which is not really the best kind of a relationship. There's a big fighting and drinking and stuff. So I went into a primal there because I was feeling their pain. But as for feeling my pain, you know, I have felt all my pain. There was a time for years that I would pray to God, please give me all the pain that is mine. I want all that's mine. I want to own every ounce of pain that is mine. Because I know that because if it is mine, then I can heal it, that I can embrace it, and I can transform it. The other thing is that here's what's really critical about doing emotional healing work. If you can find your pain and stay in your pain and go in your pain, then that is the bottom of the hourglass where it comes to the point, right? And in that, as soon as you get your consciousness to go into that very core of your pain, it goes through and you can connect to all the pain of all the people that have ever lived. And this is what the Bhagavad Gita calls the beginning of consciousness, because we're just living in our head until we get down to the level of our heart, then go down into the level of our belly. And then that's where, and then here's the thing about compassion. Once you feel the pain for all the people in the world, that produces this tremendous reservoir of compassion. You do not get compassion from, you know, just saying namaste to people or feeling sorry for them. You get compassion for having actually felt their feelings inside of your feelings. So I never feel anybody else's feelings. I feel only my feelings in vibratory resonance to them. Yeah.
I like this explanation about the primal thing, because I think we've all been there. You know, we've all been there, in whether we were alone or in front of somebody, where we really get down and the really deep guttural emotion comes out, the tears, the screaming. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about my first couple of years when I was awake and I was on the streets, and I had many of those nights. And although they seemed very painful and very confusing, and it seemed like you know, there was nowhere to go, and I knew I was in the arms of Mother Universe. I knew I was being cradled, and I knew that I wasn't going anywhere. And a lot of good intel came in. But now there's another thing, and I want to go into this and use this to segue into it. I'm in a partnership with someone who's been awake like you guys for a long time. And let me just say to Jaskima and Liliana that I'll bring you on in just a second. We're going to go around one more time. I'm going to bring you guys on, and we'll start with
Jazz is here, and you'd love Jazz, so bring her on too.
Is that Jaskima?
Yep.
Okay. So I got two more coming. So here's where I was going to go with this. I totally get what Michael's saying. I've been in a partnership for 4 years, as everybody knows, with Morgan Lee. She's been awake for about 20 years. She went through that. She went through years of that, you know, curled up in a ball, crying, bawling, and that type of thing. She began to develop, I'll get you in a second, Liliana. We're going to go around the horn with this question and bring you two in. She developed a powerful connection with her higher self and said, is there not an easier way to do this? I don't want to do this anymore. And through that communication, even to this day, shown some very easy methods with ease and grace and peace to be able to go through these things, which to me is like the marriage. I look at the primordial part that Michael's talking about, which I'm much more organic and I can relate to. And then I look at this galactic scientific part that like Morgan brings to the table. And there seems to be a fusion happening, as in everything in this transition we call Sitchin, which is an integration of the physical, the non-physical, and all the different polarities. But I just want to get your thoughts on that. Sarah, I know you've been to the mat, like all of us. You've been very vocal about it. What's your perspective on what Michael's talking about? Because we all know that works. And then also, I know you've tapped into a lot of the you, me, we, and it, our multidimensional aspects and such, and gotten some scientific modalities and processes and that type of thing. What's your take on this?
Well, okay, so the question is really like if it can be easier, right? Because like Morgan has found ways to.
I would say is maybe for you it's a blend. Maybe you're
Yeah,
more
I mean,
like
it's really a
Michael.
blend. Like
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of like identification with duality is like, to me, it's like the metaphor of like, you know, bread. Like bread is going to mold at a certain point. What keeps bread is going to start deteriorating and turning into mold. What keeps duality is going to start deteriorating. And the more duality deteriorates, the easier it is to allow all emotion to pass through without resistance.
Mm.
And so it really is this process of becoming, it's like becoming the cervix, you know, it's like in birth, the cervix gets grander and grander as the duality creation is coming forth. And so through this process of the immense extremes of emotion, the consciousness moves to identify as the container, like as the cervix, as the expanded presence. And then that which is the material that's processing through the consciousness can move through it much easier when there isn't this identification with, it's almost like identifying with your shit.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but like as it's coming out of your body, we don't need to identify and hold on. We just need to breathe.
Yeah.
And let it move through us. And even if it feels like this, oh my God, this part of me is dying, this part, you get really good at dying. You just get super good at releasing it. And I actually feel like you mature through the process. And it doesn't even feel like there's someone doing the process. It feels like the process is doing me. Yeah. And more, if I can just breathe and allow everything to pour through, you know, and know that my true frequency is joy. My true frequency is love. And, you know, it's like how much I love people. Like I was at Singing Alive this weekend and I had some meltdowns where I was just sobbing on the ground. But as soon as I finished sobbing, I was running to hug someone.
Yeah, and they thought we were all bipolar. You know?
So yeah, so it's just
there is a yeah, to what Michael was saying too. I mean that you know, that's as real as it gets. That's as but at the same time, there's this incredible, you know, I don't believe in AI. I don't believe in artificial intelligence because everything's made of the same substance. So it's like the creations created, which is what we are, made in the image, right? So it's like this fusion. That's why I think what we're doing here has not been done before. We're taking everything that's been done, everything that's been created, and we're adding our own life experience into that and combining them and creating something that's never been done before. I mean, at some level. But anyway, I just say that maybe we're the AI. Maybe our creations are the AI. Maybe our methodologies, processes, modalities are birthed by the individual expression, the fractal of the God Goddess.
It's an ancient signal. It came from an ancient universe, the AI. You know, it was some aberration in the mind of God that decided to go into that form. Anyway, I could talk about that. We could have a whole session on that.
And in the end, though, I mean, in the end, if you know, and that's
in the end, the Lord.
This isn't the topic, but I'm just saying that I think that that both be taken into account, such as we're given a template. You know, we're given a particular template. You might be aligned with Saint Germain, and Saint Germain, that template's given to you. It's not meant for you just to carry on, like you were saying, the mold on the bread. That's to me like flatlining. You know, the universe is always expanding, so it becomes Sarah with Saint Germain, and they begin, and you take that, and it creates the third and expanded energy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring these other two people on, but I want to go around the horn a little bit too. So let me go ahead and we're going to come to Daniela and Irene, back to them again. But let's go ahead and bring these other two people on. It might get a little crowded here, but let's try it. If it gets too crowded, then we'll have to drop.
Yeah, that's fine. I need to go buy cat food.
I need to go buy a pet.
My
All right,
cat.
let me pull up Liliana, and let me pull up Liliana, and I think that's Liliana. And then who was the other one?
Jessima.
Just.
She's my good friend. You'd love her.
Okay, so let me go ahead and get some. Make sure that they can get on. All right, here we go. Okay, so here's Joss, and
Hey,
here's
sweetie.
Liliana. And
Mhm.
wait a minute, let's make this one's not. Liliana, see if you can okay, there you go. Everybody's live here. We're gonna come to you two beautiful goddesses in just a second. We're gonna run through Daniela, Irene, and Michael first, okay? All right. And because we want to give everybody equal time. Daniela, do you ever scream and holler and cry and go primordial just to get through whatever's coming?
I do cry a ton. And what you just said about expansion, that's exactly it. I feel like when we allow that sorry, the noise. We allow what's just coming through, just moving through, and to allow the body to transmute just effortlessly. That's expansion for me. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about that. I feel like that's about it. I feel there are times when I wanted to like just scream, but I haven't, or I didn't. But I noticed that comes with a longer session of crying, and that's literally a way of transmutation. Just like Sarah mentioned, how she was crying and then suddenly she gets up and goes hug someone.
Yeah.
That's itself the healing right there. So that creates expansion. That's all I have to say about that.
Very cool. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Hermosita. So Irene, I know you've been doing this a long time. You alluded to that. My question to you would be, I know you've gone through these things. I know you've experienced a lot. I know you're connected. You're in the way you described. How does it feel? How does it feel to see so many people coming to the party now, and you're not the only one, and you're not crazy? You're not the only crazy one in the room. How does that feel to see this community and this consciousness expanding?
Oh yeah, for me it's almost like a given. So at some point you feel like you're kind of like you flow in the creation, in the materialization. So for me, my own experience, it becomes more like seamless, like from where I feel my internal connection, everything is already present, but it's still in the making. So I can feel very much different layers of orchestration, and it becomes like oh yeah, like ebb and flow, like the waves are just arriving.
Yeah.
You don't wait for the waves, they just come. Everything becomes much more natural, even though there's many fluctuations, like referring to the last question. All of a sudden I can get triggered and get like, I need to not so necessarily scream, but my whole body wants to cry so deeply, because it's indeed true. When I would feel a fear, I would feel instantly, and I saw every pain that was ever experienced. So it was extremely intense. But you have to go through it. There is such a deep calling that you need to do this. You don't know how, but so over the years, so it's really like an unfoldment and taking it easy. Even though things are speeding up, there's also a slowing down at the same time. And I'm learning to ride those waves in a sense. I like in going back in the silence, there's a lot of movement, but you can be still and things are happening at beyond lightning speed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, very good, very cool. So,
Yeah.
and thank you. And so, Michael, I know you've been in this game for quite a while. What's it feel like to? Well, two questions. One, what does it feel like to see so many people coming to the party now? And two, what do you think is going to happen, just from your perspective? What do you think we're actually going to see in this shared experience in, say, the near future?
Well, that's funny because one of the things I kind of play around with is Kali Yoga, which is going to end at 2025. But to go back to what we were saying about emotional healing, put it this way: we were born crying, and we cried more. They actually hook up little things to children, and that we cannot, as adults, reach what children reach. When we were most alive is when we cried and shouted and grieved and raged the most. Okay. Then as we grew older, we learned to suppress those feelings. And when we suppress those feelings, we began to die. And as you get older, your emotional body gets shallower and shallower and shallower until you're laying on bed and you have no emotions, and then you die. So there's a connection between the emotional body and the life vitality. Okay, that's one point. The other point is neither enlightenment, Kundalini arising out of the top of your head, or a near-death experience, being dead and come back to life, none of those resolve your emotional issues. Not one of them does. They take the edge off, they make you feel better about yourself, but they do not resolve your emotional issues. And this gets back to what I started with, is where your emotional issues are stored in your vagal system, right? So you got to understand that where you walk, the way you talk, right? When I talk from my subconscious automatically pick up the right words, right? And when I sit the way I sit because of a habit pattern. So there's a habit pattern of walking, talking, and being, right? This is in your anomic system, right? Your subconscious. Now, enlightenment, if you reach enlightenment, you're still going to talk and walk the same. If you have Kundalini popping out the top of your head, you're still going to walk and talk and sit and eat, and everything's going to be the same. You see, that's why emotional healing has to be taken to the subconscious. This is why Carl Jung said, there's no coming to awareness without dealing with your shadow. You have to make the subconscious conscious, and the subconscious is this things that you do. So that is where your traumas are. And this is why so many people who are put all their chips onto the love and light, they lose out, because love and light does not reach where you sit, where you stand, where you act, what you reach for, where you think, and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't reach that. It's in another thing. So people get into this. It's a kind of a spiritual bypass where they want the love and light, and they want the Saint Raphael, and they want the ETs to come and talk to them and all this kind of stuff, but they're not dealing completely with their emotional issues, and therefore that's the weight that holds them down. And the thing about that is once you have an end of your fear, an end of your rage, an end of your pain, right? And they're all balanced out in the heart. Guess what? You do not care one fig about enlightenment or who spirits come to talk to you. I've had planets come to talk to me. Planets, by the way, are very nice people. They're very kind. You can have, and the gods come, gods visit God. So when you release all that shit that's inside of you, when you really clear that stuff out, you are a god. You know what I mean? You are one without any discord. You're just a being without any, just like a squirrel or a dog or a rabbit or something. You're just, that's who you are. And you don't need anything. You don't want anything. You're not trying. You're not driven. You're not running away from anything.
I love that. And I love that because we can have anything come visit us. You know what I mean? But I love that, a lot of people talk about spiritual bypassing, but I think yours is the best explanation I've heard so far. Spiritual bypassing is bypassing your own darkness. Right. And I guess that's really what it is when you get right down to it.
Look, I became enlightened. I mean, full enlightened. I became enlightened because I was using the enlightenment to deal with my pain. Mm-hmm. And then when I reached enlightenment and I was still in pain and I was offered the job of a god of another universe, it was like, what are you talking about here? You know? And then right after that, I went into my big midlife crisis, and that's where I did all my healing work, my emotional healing work. And so I had this contrast between enlightenment and God realization, and then the healing work that I had to do. And that's how I saw that even enlightenment does not touch. It's just like this. If you like orange juice before your enlightenment, and then after you get enlightened, you're still going to want orange juice. You see what I'm saying? But it's the same thing. Our soul, our subconscious reaches out for, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. There's no love for me. There's no man for me. Everything's hard. All these kind of judgments and beliefs that we carry, those are in our subconscious refrigerator, just like the orange juice.
There you go. Irene wants to add a little something to it. Then we're going to go to Liliana and Jazz. And I want to say to each one of you, before we go any further, because we're going to wind it up in about 10 or 15 minutes. We got another show. Please put your I guess your Facebook link in the comments when the show's over, so Morgan and I could get in touch with you, because there's so many of us here and there's so many shows that we do, and so we can reach out to you. Each one of you, if you would just put your go in and make a comment after the show's over or during the show, and just put your Facebook link so we can get in touch with you. I'm gonna go over here to Irene. She said she wanted to make a comment on this too and expand on it a little bit. Go ahead, Irene.
Yes, I so love what you just said, because for me, like, enlightenment and all that stuff didn't mean anything to me. It was more like a concept. So, but it's so true, because the more light comes in, which just, in my case, it just happened naturally. I couldn't help it, even if I wanted to resist it. Strange enough, it came through. The deeper you can feel. So it's like, even though it's really not nice at times, but it's like the light really goes to the deepest darkness. And it's actually, that's exactly why we're here. So, and all those things really don't matter, because once you're connected, like it's like a given unfoldment.
Yeah.
So, and it's for everybody. It's still a choice. Yeah. But every time you follow the signals, which is happening now on a larger scale now, and that's the cool part. So that you can share, so that it becomes a little bit lighter. Yeah. But it doesn't mean the rest is just already disappeared. Yeah. It's still the accumulation of so many people who went through personal things, which is why it becomes lighter. Nothing else makes it lighter.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's a good point. That even though there's this expanded collective awareness and consciousness, and given the fact that some have gone through certain energetic doors, which makes it easier for others, it still does not divorce us from any aspect of cleaning our closet, or as Michael said, of emptying our refrigerator. Right.
The collective becomes lighter. It doesn't. So, that's right. So because the collective is a collective, it didn't exist outside of us.
That's right. Yeah.
It's what we do, and we know it intellectually, but once you feel it, really, it becomes. It's just so magical. Everything.
Yeah. No shortcuts. Let me go to these two lovely goddesses that came in at the end. And let me say this too, we're going to talk to them for, a few minutes each and get to know them a little bit, because that's a big part of what this particular show is about, the open mic. But then what I want to do is go around one more last time to everybody, and I'm going to have a little something for you to make a comment or expand on that you can share with our brothers and sisters. So let's start with Liliana. Let me unmute you, Liliana. Hello, let's see. There it goes. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Tell us a little bit about who you are. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's
okay. So I'm a light worker, basically, like everybody else. My spiritual practice is core shamanism from tribal peoples in the Native American tribes and Southern American tribes, also Celtic shamanism. So I just use what has been preserved from the original healing modality that we all had before we became civilized. And I also do astrology, and I do coaching for starseeds and light workers. And I would like to speak about nature, and I would like to speak about triggers and shadow from my perspective.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So I think we have all been feeling very, very sad and feel like grieving for the last few days,
Yeah.
because the Amazon forest is burning and has been burning for 3 weeks now, and it's now covering 3 countries. And there is no help getting there. So I think the government is also burning the people's villages, and the indigenous culture is being wiped out. And they need our help in prayer, in meditation, in anything that we can do, and just keep them in light and in our thoughts and our prayers. I think that's the first thing we can do. Also, news has been coming in that there are extinct species. Today is the day that koala has been pronounced extinct on Earth. And I think the Earth is grieving. So we can feel the energy of the Earth, and that's why we are feeling sad and we are grieving. So we are just feeling it. Our mother is crying for our help. And I think we all can feel it, but we don't really know how to process it, and we don't know what to do. I think we all want to do something, and we are doing our personal things through our transmutation work and whatever we do. We are all very busy in the spiritual dimensions, as I can imagine. But I think we really need a structured practice right now, even if it's just like an hour a week or 2 hours a week. We need to do like structured healing for the planet, because we're in trouble. And from my perspective, it's purifying our own elements, because like all the creatures on the planet, we are made out of the 4 or 5 elements. And by purifying our fire, our earth, all the elements we have in us, and making them light and unburdened, as somebody said just a little bit ago, Michael, I think, purifying our own element of fire and making it a pure fire on earth, we can give a contribution of pure fire to the earth, so she doesn't have to go through her burning pains. I think earth has temperature and is trying to, just like a human body gets temperature when it has parasites and toxicity, it goes into burning mode. This is what the planet is doing.
Yeah.
So by purifying our own fields, we can do it. We just need like an hour a day to do it. We need some introduction. We need our power animal. Power animal is our guide, our spirit guide, our navigation tool. You can ask questions. Where is this coming from? And what is the medicine for this? What can I do today for me and for the planet? And you get the answer. You connect to the spirit and protectors of the forest. You connect with the spirit of the rivers, of the lakes, of everything has a spirit. That's why we go to nature, to feel the spirit of nature, right?
Yeah.
And we're always saying we need nature, we need to go out and chill out, but the nature needs us.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. People talk about the grid work, and it's a shared experience. Everything's a shared experience. So if we go to a place on the grid and we do something, it's also doing something for us. It's an equal energy exchange. I think you bring up a great point. You actually went right into what I was going to ask of everybody. We lost somebody. Hopefully she comes back. Jazz, hope she comes back. But I think a lot of the times whatever it might be in respect to regarding this experience that we're having, like what do we do? What can we do? Whatever the topic is, that for me anyway, the one thing that's always worked has just been to have that desire, the desire to grow, or the desire to help or assist. So call it prayer, meditation, chant, mantra, pull up your DNA, pull up your spirit animal, pull up Mother Earth, pull up the universe, Father God, Mother Goddess, whatever. But I think we, in our own right, as within as without, we can make that appeal. We can do we can do whatever we want with the power of our heart, body, soul, mind, imagination. And we should never underestimate the power of one unique and equal soul, because we do have the power to change an entire world just from one center of the universe, of the multiverses, which each one of us represents. That was a really cool. I loved what you had to say, and I appreciate the information. It gave us a good contrast here. Let's go around the horn one more time. We're going to come back to Liliana when we close the show out. So let's go back to Sarah. We'll go Sarah, Daniela, Irene, Michael, and if Jazz comes back, then we'll go with Jazz. Sarah, what can you leave us with today? Hang on. Are you on? Let's see. Hang on. Wait a minute. You're muted. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What can you leave us with today, brothers and sisters? What advice? Whatever. What do you want to leave us with?
Let's see.
If you want to
sing some light codes, and then maybe I'll speak just a little bit.
Okay.
The unity logos of the earth has been sleeping for a long time, and it is just now beginning to connect with the galactic zodiac and to rise as a unity logos of living light. Our planet is returning to her divine blueprint, and we are seeing much transformation, much death, much life, much purging, much cleansing. The most important thing we can do is hold on to the love that we have for each other, the love that we have for all life as a living tapestry. That know that we're all here together, that we're all riding this wave, that we're all this great family, and try not to get too lost in all the different things that are going on in the conditional reality, because the most beautiful birth is happening, and all has purpose, even if it's painful, all has purpose to usher in this new dawn. And so celebrate the new dawn, feel the pain fully, but return quickly to the great reunion that we are all moving towards with the earth and with all life. Much love to all.
Right on. Thank you. It is done. Yeah. Mi hermana de Mexico.
Yeah.
Hermosita, bonita, chulita. What would you like to say to the community, your brothers and sisters, to the world, to the universe? I mean, we cannot underestimate anything we can do from the place that we sit, that we stand.
Well, a message from, and that's always been with me, is well, actually, just recently, just these past couple of months, my message is to return to Natura. The codes, technology, all of it is right within us, and that's my message right now. Return to Natura. And as I've mentioned in the comments, of a dear one I follow who always reminds me, and many, if you're either growing or you're dying, so like nothing is ever stagnant. So that is our that comes with our free will, if to say, and for the whole, yeah, that's what I leave with today. I thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for showing up. Thank you
Yes.
for coming.
Thank you.
Vaya con Dios. Okay, we got Irene, then Michael, then back to Liliana. Any concluding comments, Irene? Anything you want to say or do? You want to do a song and dance?
Oh, well, I'd like to comment on I forgot her name, about the rainforest, and
Liliana.
it is, yeah, and of course it is sad, and it's traumatic in a sense, like it seems to be the topic of this talk, but there is always inclusion, and I've been connecting with nature on many occasions, and it just shares, it also responds back. So I'd love to share with you, like, forests on other side of the continent, and it said, actually, it was sharing with me that the rainforest, they told me, like, we should be more worried about ourselves. The nature will outlive us, and like, it doesn't outlive us, but the blueprint is still intact. So this is more, even though there is trauma and we can see it, nature is really being in good hands. So trauma will be very quickly erased, like transmuted with all of this. But the humans that we're in the human realm, we experience the trauma because we need to wake up.
Yeah.
Like, this is not what we.
It's funny how we have these technical difficulties when important frequencies are being expressed, right? She got, oh, there she is.
I'm back.
Yeah.
So where did I leave?
What's important, well, that we're going through this stuff because we need to be further awakened, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, so that's why. Yeah, so that's why it is allowed to happen.
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
happen, so it's only allowed for people to wake up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, nature is also being caressed and it's being held, and it will come back quicker than ever.
Yeah.
But we cannot wait for that part.
Yeah.
We still have to go through the, not really suffering, but there is suffering, but we don't have to be dragged into it.
It's definitely uncomfortable, but it goes back to what goes back to what Michael said. We're gonna go to Michael, but it's like the macro micro. You know, you can look at it and say it's happening because we need to wake up, but it's happening. Another way to put that is so we can see the shadow. So we can see the shadow individually and collectively, a lot like what Michael was talking about on an individual level. I'm gonna say goodbyes here in a little bit, but let's go to Michael. Let's go back to Michael. Let me unmute him. Michael, you got any last concluding comments or anything you want to do?
Yeah, I do. I like what everybody's saying. Just to put it out there, my point of view is that there's only one giant issue in the world, and that is heartlessness. And heartlessness comes from one thing: thoughts not connecting to the heart that connect to the feeling. So thoughts and feeling is what creates reality. Thoughts are words and feelings is the feeling of the words. And if the thoughts are not right, then, you know, or you are damaged in your feelings or with the people who judge you. Let's say you had a narcissistic father or something, or he abandoned you or whatever, then this creates inside you, inside your belly, a wound, and that wound creates a world. So you have an abandoned world, or you have a heartless world, or you have a greedy world, or you have a world where everything you have to do is struggle, or a world where there is no love for you, or any of those kind of worlds. Well, those worlds are inside you, and they are stored in the place where we connect to our Mother Earth, which is in our belly. This is why you want to heal the earth, because what is going on in our belly is exactly what's being reflected out there on the earth. I'll give you one example. You know about this Epstein and all this type of child sacrifice. Well, we have this thing in psychology, a nice fluffy little thing called the inner child. The inner child work. That's who holds your pain. That's who feels your pain. And when we suppress our pain, that is us torturing our inner child and saying, you are going to sit there and suffer, right? Or when we have self-hatred, we're saying hatred. We're like poking our inner child with a cattle prod, okay? So there's a direct relation between what we carry on collectively in our belly and what manifests in reality, where you have this Satanist and heartless people and child abuse and all that kind of, and it doesn't matter how much glitter you got on your unicorn. If you're suppressing your emotional body, you're suppressing your inner child, then that is adding to the collective of heartlessness, thoughts don't connect. I can't deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I want to let somebody else deal with it. And that's exactly what we got in the world. So my solution is this: become a destroyer of worlds. I have a process that I call finding your lion heart. And the way you do, and what you do there is you go into your fear, then you go into your anger, and then you drop down into your pain. And then the next time you go into it a little deeper and a little stronger, and then you drop down into your pain. But at some point, like I said, if you have a narcissistic mother or a narcissistic father, they created a world inside of you. So what you do is you kill your mother or your father in your imagination, that world that was created, that connection to them. You're always reaching to, I'm a victim, right? Well, that victim's coming from the victim world. So you kill that image, that cartoon image of the mother, and you kill the world that they created, and you blow that thing up. Okay, now this does two things. It disconnects you from that world of suffering, and you've already gone down and embraced your pain. Okay, but then when you come back up, you have this power. You become the destroyer of worlds, and there's a lot of worlds that need to be destroyed. Like we said, the world of pollution, the world of greed, the world of war, all these things that we don't do anything about. We just let them sit on our emotional body, and they're just like those kids that caught by these pedophiles. They're trapped there. They can't move until we move them. So that's what I would suggest. Move your emotions in a conscious way, so that you can become a destroyer of the worlds that was forced onto you, force-fed into you. Yeah. When you can destroy that world, then this world here will get a direct relief, because there's a one-to-one. Yeah. Your inner world in your belly is the Mother Earth. Yeah. No That's question about it. The deep feminine is what they call it. Yeah. The womb, as within, without. Oh, right. Like let's go. And if mom is happy, then everybody's happy. And if mom is happy, isn't that the truth? That applies everywhere, doesn't it? If mom is not happy, then the world's on fire, and that's what's going on. That's how it runs in my household. So I know that's just a copy of the whole macro, right? Okay, let's go back to Liliana. She started this last leg of the conversation with what she had to say about what's going on. Love the fact, let me just say to everybody, thank you all for coming in before Liliana concludes the show. Thank you all for sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. Would love to collaborate with you guys in the future. That's why I asked you to put your information on the comments on the Facebook Live. But Liliana, you have yes. Including comments?
Thank you for giving me space. Thank you, Irene, for your perspective. Thank you, Michael. I want to say that Saturn and Pluto are nearing their conjunction in the sky in Capricorn. We have 11 weeks to go. So that's why the acceleration of collapsing the old toxic timelines has accelerated. It's just fast now, and we need to like collapse, so we can build the new. And I think we're doing it well. Yeah. That's why it's been so difficult and so overwhelming and so busy. Yeah. So I would say if the outside world is not functioning well, like job, income, that's because we are being held in the focus for collapsing the old timelines, energetic timelines. So that's one thing I want to conclude with. And the second thing is that when you go to nature, you can connect with anything just by asking for permission. So one good question to ask is, can I approach your field of energy? To a tree, to a river, to grass, to the land you walk on, anything you can connect to. When you get a yes, you will get their new frequency. They have 5D. They already have 5D, and you will be blasted with 5D, but you need to ask for permission. When you get permission, you can ask, what can I do for you?
Right on. Right on. I love that explanation, and I also love the fact that you said we talk so much about all these things that are not right or not in alignment, but we all showed up and we're all doing a damn good job.
Yes, we are.
We're all doing a great job. We're universal soldiers. We're becoming even more expanded. We're serving not just each other and this earth, we're serving the universes, the multiverses. And that's the real deal here. So we got to give ourselves some credit. We're doing a great job. I'd love to collaborate with each one of you. Please send me a message if you're interested, or send one to Morgan. And good seeing you all. Peace out to everybody. Y'all take care. Thank you so much for a great show.
Thank you.
Fantastic show.
Bye.
Bye.